I think now is a better time than ever to address this. And it seems like everyone, including myself, love to see how other content creators gear up. And so I thought I'd share with you guys the gear that I use to create my content as of midway into 2020. Let's go. Now, before I begin, I'd just like to extend a massive thank you to everyone who has liked, disliked, commented, or subscribed to my channel over the last, 5 months. We've hit 2,000 subscribers, and it's all thanks to you guys. So thank you again very, very much. Now, full disclaimer, I purchased all of this gear with my own money, and unless otherwise stated, I am not affiliated with any of these products, and all of the opinions are genuine and my own, and I was not paid to say anything. So keep that in mind. Now, before we get onto camera gear, I'd like to first talk about my EDC, because I feel like EDC is also one of those really popular topics amongst the community. So the first one, obviously, is my car fob. I use it to get around everywhere really, really quickly. The next EDC that I have is obviously my card wallet. I used to own a bifold, but that weighed me down heavily. So now I designed this wallet, I hand stitched it myself. If it's 2 cards at the front, 2 cards at the back, and in the middle slot, it holds up to 4 cards that I use less frequently, and it just gets the job done. Fits really nicely in the front pocket of my jeans, and yeah. Now the next item that I have is a key organizer. This key organizer is from a brand called Orbitkey. If you haven't heard of them already, they're a Australian-based company, and they make better carry. Now, disclaimer, I am affiliated with Orbitkey. They sent this to me about a year ago for free, and since then I've been using it on the daily, and I have to admit, it is a great item to have. Now, in terms of function and fashion, it is just perfect. It's not overly tech-like, like the other key organizers out there. It just really looks really classy and sleek, and is very discreet, is out of the way most of the time when it's clipped onto my jeans with these clips. If you want to purchase this Orbitkey Key Organizer, I have an affiliate link down below, and so I encourage you guys to click on that link and make a purchase through that link, because it will give me some kickback, and that'll help me greatly with my financials. Okay, now let's move to my camera gear. And what do I use to carry my camera gear? First of all is a bag. And so the first item that I want to show you guys is the bag that I use on a day-to-day basis. And this is the Easy Rider bag from Wotan Craft. Now, they are a Taiwanese-based company that makes not really camera bags, but just really nice quality bags in general. This Easy Rider isn't specifically a camera bag, but they do make a camera bag insert designed to fit this bag. It's rather pricey for how much this bag can hold compared to other, sling style camera bags, but I love the look of it. It's got a rugged, vintage, worn-in look. It's made from quality materials and hardware, and most importantly, it doesn't look like a camera bag, which is great, especially if you don't want to draw attention to yourself. I like the functionality of sling-type bags. Messengers become uncomfortable because of the way they distribute weight, and backpacks are a real pain to get on and off, especially if you have gear that you need to change often. Slings have a better weight distribution than messengers, and this sling also comes with a secondary harness that loops underneath your arm for extra stabilization. Slings are also a lot easier to access on the go than backpacks. You can just swing it around to the front, grab what you need, and swing it back, or just keep it in front of you close to your chest. Okay, now let's talk about cameras. Finally, the first camera that I have, and no doubt you may have seen this in one or more of my videos that I made on this channel. This is the X100V, and this is the only camera that I use to take photos, in general nowadays. I don't have any other, dedicated camera anymore. Not much has changed in terms of the accessories that I have on this camera. I've got the red shutter button, soft shutter release, whatever you call it. I have the square hood in silver. I have a lens protector filter on there, and I also have the square hood lens filter adapter, the square hood filter adapter. The only thing that has changed from last time is the fact that I've changed the strap. Now, before I was using a wrist strap, now I've changed to a neck strap. This neck strap is from a brand named Simpler. You know, there's not a lot of media coverage of their products. The Simpler strap is a solid strap, and what I like about it is that it looks unassuming and it is made out of quality materials. So just reading off their spec sheet, they've got military spec nylon webbing, heavy duty acetal hardware, 100% UV resistant polyester threading, steel magnesium alloy split ring lug mounts, and heavy duty bar-tack stitching. That's big words. All to say that this is a very high quality strap for how deceptively low profile and lightweight this strap is. It doesn't have a quick release system, but the great thing about this strap is that it can be worn three-way, as a crossbody sling, a neck strap if you shorten the strap length, and if you loop the strap through this tab, it can also serve as a long wrist strap. Or you could just wrap it around your wrist as you normally would with a neck strap. I love the versatility that this strap offers, and for my usage, now that I'm doing YouTube and filming more, having the neck strap frees up both my hands when I need to adjust settings on my camera on the go. Now, if you ask me, Jay, what is the best strap that I can get for my X100V? I would still recommend you to a wrist strap. Why? Because it is still the safest, the cheapest, the most minimal strap that you can have for a compact camera such as this. And unless you're doing YouTube like me, and unless you need both hands free a lot of the time, then a wrist strap is really the way to go. But if you are in the market for a neck strap, definitely have a look at the brand called Simpler. It might just appeal to you as well. Now, the other must-have accessory that you should own for your X100V is backup batteries. I would recommend having at least 1 or 2 extra batteries for your X100V. If you're the type of person to take a lot of continuous shooting, or if you like shooting video in between your photos, I would recommend getting 2 or 3 extra batteries, because they do run out pretty quick on these cameras. Now, the other spare accessory that I recommend is the SanDisk Pro Extreme SD card. I have a spare one just in case the main one fails. Touch wood, it's never failed on me before because this brand is actually extremely reliable. But on the off chance it does, at least I know that there is a spare there. And if you're shooting out on the streets, you should always carry a spare with you at all times. Better be safe than sorry. Now, the next camera that I own that I don't really talk about a lot is the Sony RX100 Mark III. This camera was released back in 2014, and at the time, it was such a mind-blowing camera in terms of how much technology and features was packed in such a tiny, compact body, even to this day, And my partner bought this for me for my birthday, and so it has a lot of sentimental value. But even so, this camera takes fantastic images. Don't let the age and size fool you. It's got a 1-inch sensor and it packs 20 megapixels, which can still hold up to today's standards. It's got Zeiss glass with 24 to 70 millimeter full frame equivalent focal length with a variable aperture of 1.8 to 2.8. It's got a tiltable and flip-up LCD screen. It's got a pop-out flash, which can be manually tilted up to 90 degrees, and it has an off-center pop-out EVF. Like how? It's just literally insane, even today. On the opposite spectrum of insane, this camera will probably be one of the worst purchases that I've ever made in my entire life, and that is this. This is the LCA Plus Silver Lake Edition from Lomography. Now, this camera was released back in 2012, and at the time, it was one of those limited edition 1 out of 1,000 cameras that Lomography was marketing, and I fell victim to the marketing scheme, and I purchased this camera on a whim. It costed me about 400 Australian dollars. I'm not proud of it, but You live and you learn. And you know what? I'll probably keep this camera forever, just to remind myself never to make that same mistake ever again. Don't buy into hype. But to be fair though, under good lighting, and if you nail the focus, it actually creates pretty good images. Not gonna lie, it creates pretty good images, but again, for the price, back in the day, you could probably get yourself a nice Nikon or a very nice Pentax camera for the exact same price. So again, big regrets. And finally, we come to the last camera, and this is the latest addition to my camera collection. It is this bad boy right here. This is the Yashica Mat 124 TLR. This is a twin lens reflex medium format film camera. And I actually got this on a whim. I never really expected it to happen. What happened was I was on eBay looking at film cameras for whatever reason, and I stumbled upon the Yashica Mat 124 on a bid. It was at 60 Australian dollars, and I was like, holy crap, like that is insanely cheap. Let me see if I can snag a great deal. So I thought, obviously film cameras, they're expensive these days. I probably wouldn't be winning the bid anyway. So I'm gonna bid up to $100 and see where it goes from there. Lo and behold, I won the bid at 102 Australian dollars and plus $20 shipping. This camera cost me $122 in total, and it's medium format. So this thing, it's not so great anymore. In the back of my mind, I had low hopes for the quality of the Yashica Mat. It just seemed too good to be true for how much I paid. Turns out this camera works and functions perfectly. I, disassembled it a little bit, gave it a slight clean down on the glass elements and the focus elements, and it just looks brand new now. The only imperfection is the rear lens element, which seems to have some blemishes that I couldn't remove. I haven't shot with this yet, but I do intend to make a video in the days to come, so stay tuned for that. Now let's talk about the cameras that I used to record with. The first one is obviously the one that's filming me right now. It's the Panasonic G85. And it's not actually my camera. It belongs to my brother-in-law, but I borrowed it just because I don't have another camera to record with at the moment. I will be looking into buying probably another Fujifilm camera somewhere down the line so that I can utilize the current lenses that I have sitting in storage, because I don't have an interchangeable lens Fuji camera body anymore since I sold my X-T2. The second camera that I use to shoot videos with, and specifically to shoot my POV street photography with, is of course the GoPro Hero 8 Black. Now, this camera is probably a must-have for anyone thinking about doing videos such as mine, where you need to show a first-person perspective of wherever you are and whatever you're doing. The GoPro Hero 8 is great. It feels solid in the hands. It's waterproof. You can put it in underwater for down to like, say, I think 10 meters or something without a cage. And the best thing about this new camera is that it has those, the shoe mount attached to the body itself. So you don't need an extra cage that has those mounts included. So it has a much lower profile, and it works really good. The audio quality on the Hero 8 is also improved, and also, the hyper smooth ability is also really good too. The only downside is probably, at higher ISOs, the video quality isn't as good, so I wouldn't be using it in anything, that's very dim. But other than that, this camera is really good for a lot of different purposes. The accessories that I have with my GoPro is always a spare battery. You definitely need at least 1 or 2 spare batteries with your GoPro, as they do tend to run out really fast. I find that if I'm shooting at 4K and around 30 frames a second, it will last me about an hour. So if you're the kind of person who likes to do POV photography for a whole day, and you don't really turn off your GoPro that much, you will run through your batteries really quickly. And I would highly recommend you get those genuine GoPro batteries to get you the maximum life out of the camera. The other thing that I would recommend is getting a spare micro SD card for your GoPro. I carry around a spare 256 gigabyte Samsung Evo Plus micro SD card. And again, these micro SD cards don't really fail on me a lot, but just in case one gets corrupted or, on the off chance something bad happens, touch wood again, you should always consider carrying a spare SD card with you anyways. So to take selfies with the GoPro, I have this GoPro Shorty Stick. This came included with the GoPro Hero 8 bundle that I purchased. This selfie stick is actually pretty good. It has two features that not a lot of other selfie sticks have or is well implemented. I think this is the best implementation. It can extend just a little bit, so you get that extra reach, especially if you're shooting in linear mode on your GoPro. And the other feature is the legs can pop out like this, so you can actually prop it on a table and it acts as a tabletop vlog setup. And of course you can extend the top like so to get that extra height for whatever reason you see fit. So selfies. In terms of POV, I use the chest strap. I used to use a clip, but I find the clip a little bit annoying because it comes loose and it's off center. It just doesn't really work that well. But for a chest strap, right in the center of your chest, you get the best point of view. And I don't really recommend getting the genuine GoPro chesty strap that they have. It's kind of like, it's pretty expensive. This one only costs about 5 or 10 Australian dollars and it does the job just fine. So if you're looking to do POV work, definitely look into getting a generic chest strap like this. You don't lose much and it does the job wonderfully. Okay, now let's talk about some more subjectively less interesting accessories that I use to help me take photos. And these accessories I use mainly to just improve my workflow and efficiency when I'm taking photos. So the first item that I use is a remote trigger and receiver. And this is very important if you're doing things such as product photography. I bought this one specifically for product photography. Now there's always cheaper options on the market which does the job just fine. If you just want to be able to trigger the shutter remotely, there are very cheap options out there on the market. However, I bought this UPro remote trigger because it has just extra features. You've got, continuous mode, you've got bulb mode, you've got time-lapse mode, and you've also got self-timer mode. But the one that is the most useful is it has the option to select channels. So on the receiver, you can select the channel, and on the remote trigger, you can select the same channel. So imagine if you had multiple cameras, you had multiple receivers, each camera had a receiver set to the same channel as the remote trigger, you can fire off multiple cameras at once with just one remote trigger. So very, very handy. I don't have multiple cameras, but if one day I do, I know I can use this no problem. The next item that I use for product photography and also portrait photography is a Speedlight. I think every photographer should at least own some sort of Speedlight. Speedlights are very important when it comes to portrait photography and product photography as they give your photos that extra oomph when you need it. This brand is the Godox V862, and it is a relatively cheap Speedlight for how much power it packs. Now, along with the Speedlight, I also purchased a master transmitter, and this is the Godox X2T trigger. Now, the reason why I purchased this trigger was the fact that it has a hot shoe on the top, and that allows me to, say if I want to trigger the camera remotely when I'm remotely shooting flash off camera, I have the ability to do so. So great combination. So if you have the budget, definitely look into purchasing a Speedlight and a remote trigger, as I feel like they're definitely great investments to have. Now, the final piece of kit that I own are these two soft boxes that you see, one behind me and one in front of me. These soft boxes are just a generic softbox. They add a little bit more lighting into your scene. They're not very powerful, but they don't generate a lot of heat. And, of course, they're very budget friendly. So if you're tight on budget, I would look into purchasing some sort of continuous lighting like these to really, add that extra bit of light when ambient light isn't enough. Okay, so that pretty much covers everything that I use to create content. Compared to other YouTubers out there, the gear that I have isn't actually a lot, but I admit the quality of the gear matters a lot, and I have to say that a few of the gear that I own isn't up to scratch when it comes to quality. I purchased it back in the day when funds were tight, and obviously I'm looking to upgrade these in the future. Who knows? I might have a lot of different things in 2021, but for now, these things do the job just fine. And so I'm pretty happy with what I've got going on right now. So that wraps things up. My name is Jay, and until next time.